Hey everybody, we're back. It's weather for Weather Geeks time. It's the first Geeks video in the month of March. I was off on Friday, and today is the fourth day of the month of March. It's the only day in the calendar year that's also a command. March 4th. Get it? All right, before we get to this week's cold forecast, let's spend a second talking about yesterday's snow and the forecast that went a little bit sideways. This was a real pain in the butt storm from the very get-go. It suddenly appeared on the models midweek. We had to kick into, hey, there's going to be a snowstorm coming mode and start putting out some snow forecasts. And, you know, initially we had a 3 to 6 inch forecast for a lot of the viewing area, and then there was a fairly abrupt southward shift in the modeling for late Friday and especially into Friday night and Saturday morning. And we ended up settling on this forecast map for the storm itself. What we did not do correctly is readjust Sunday morning early when the models started inching back north again. Now, ultimately, this part of the forecast ended up okay. 1 to 3, that was a pretty good forecast. In East Palestine, East Liverpool, Lisbon, Salineville, a lot of places had 2 or 3 inches of snow down there. Where the forecast really stunk was the coating to an inch range. We should have just made the entire area basically either 1 to 3 or 2 to 4. 3 inches, 3.5 inches was kind of the top of the range for most places, but there were a lot of places that got about 3 inches worth of snow in that coating to 1 inch range. So that was a bust. And like I've said on social media, you'll never see me run away from a forecast bust. The atmosphere is humbling. This is going to happen sometimes, and you know we're pretty accurate when it comes to snow forecast, when it comes to temperature forecast, when it comes to impact forecast, but we're never going to get every situation 100% right, and occasionally we're going to get one pretty wrong. And yesterday was one of those situations. If you are not humble in this profession, it's not a good thing. I think you need to be a little bit humble because this is difficult trying to predict the future. And even though we do it well more often than not, every now and then we have kind of a stinker. Yesterday was one of those situations. All right, on today's date of March 4th, 5 years ago, it was even colder than today. Now, the daytime high was not as cold as today, but the early morning low was a record setter back in 2014. On March 4th, we hit 5 below at the Youngstown Warren Airport. All right, despite the relatively mild February, the ice cover on Lake Erie has been very, very persistent. Got off to a late start. It was below average through the last couple of days of January, but as soon as the calendar flipped into February, the ice coverage, I should say, has been above average on Lake Erie ever since, and we're still in the 90s, which is pretty impressive considering it's early March and February was not all that cold. Well, speaking of early March, we're into that time of the year where we start talking a lot about the sun angle and the increasing sun angle, and it's getting stronger and it has more of an impact on snow when it tries to snow during the day, and also the melting of snow even when it's as cold as it was today. We were in the teens to around 20 a lot of the day today, but we had a fair amount of melting out there because the sun is 42 degrees above the horizon at solar noon on today's date, which is the same as it is on October 9th. So the sun's, you know, we're getting closer and closer, of course, to the equinox, and before too long, the sun will be as strong as it is in late September. So it gets harder and harder for snow to stick during the day, unless it comes down hard, like it did yesterday. And it also gets easier to melt snow during the day, even if it's really, really cold outside, like it was today. And it was fairly sunny for part of the day today. You know, it was a fairly ineffective sunshine kind of a day. You can also see the ice on Lake Erie on this high-res visible satellite. So we had a mix of sun and clouds a lot of the day. It looked nice, but boy, did you need to bundle up. That is for sure. All right, let's spend a minute talking about the big national weather story, which, of course, the devastating, horrific tornadoes in southeastern Alabama and extreme western parts of Georgia yesterday afternoon and yesterday evening. This is the radar loop showing those storms pushing through, and the radar presentation was pretty incredible with these. These were more like Tornado Alley type of presentations on the radar with classic hook echoes, very strong rotation, and at least one of these was an EF4 tornado. It's been 2 years since anywhere in the U.S. we've seen an EF4 tornado. We've had a remarkably lucky streak, almost 2 years now. That streak unfortunately ended yesterday and several fatalities occurred. It was the deadliest day for tornadoes in the U.S. in several years. I think the stat I saw 6 years. I think it's been since 2013 since we've had a day as deadly as yesterday for tornadic activity, and it's early March. We're not even into prime tornado season. So real sad story down there, and of course as the National Weather Service continues to assess the damage, we'll probably see further updates to some of the classifications of those tornadoes. All right, back here in the present, it is cold in a lot of the country. A couple of exceptions, no surprise where they are. Phoenix and Miami. Orlando's pretty good as well, but the Panhandle of Florida's cold. New Orleans is cold. 48's cold for Mardi Gras down in New Orleans. And so this map resembles the dead of winter rather than early March. We've got a very cold forecast for the next couple of days. Dry and sunny start to the day, but clouds will increase quickly by mid-morning on Tuesday. Snow showers will get going in the afternoon. I don't think this amounts to much. Generally localized coatings, half an inch maybe. Watch for some slick spots, especially as we head towards dark. Lingering flurries into parts of tomorrow night. An uneventful cold day Wednesday. Maybe a resurgence of snow showers with that trough, a dashed black line, a little trough of low pressure, pushing through Wednesday night and early Thursday. Then we're back to quiet weather for Thursday afternoon. There is good news. We're not going to see freezing until Friday, but look what happens as we head into the weekend. Actually, a really nice day coming up on Saturday. We should be in the upper 40s. I think the sun will be out for a good chunk of the day. Sunday will be even warmer. Now, it will be probably a cloudier day Sunday. It may even rain some, especially the morning. But 59 degrees, we'll take that, considering how cold it is out there this evening. And actually, the medium range does not look that bad. That 59 Sunday will be followed by a downturn early next week, but only for a couple of days. In the 8 to 14 day outlook, which takes us from the middle of next week through the following weekend, doesn't look that cold at all. Now, this is probably followed by a more prolonged period of chilly weather beyond this 8 to 14 day period. But the 8 to 14 day period, again, middle and latter portions of next week into the following weekend, really does not look that cold by mid-March standards. So we have that to look forward to. A lot of people are asking me, hey, you know, are we done with the snow at this point? I would never make that call on March 4th. Oftentimes we see measurable snow into April around here. Now, that being said, I suspect the odds are starting to tilt in our favor that we're done with any big-ticket snow events. By big-ticket, I mean, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8-inch type of events. Our time is running out to get those kinds of events. I also suspect that this week will be the last hurrah of this kind of, the magnitude of this cold and the duration of this cold. A 4-day stretch with highs in the upper teens and 20s gets harder to do as we go deeper into March. So this is probably the last hurrah for this kind of intense cold in the duration. More than just a day or two, you know, 4-day stretch of really cold weather this week. I think this is probably the last one. That's it for tonight's weather for Weather Geeks. Thanks for sticking with me tonight, and I'll see you back here on Tuesday.